Alright, let's get into breaking down Douglas Lima versus Michael Page. I told you so. Douglas Lima gets the finish over Michael Venom Page. Michael Venom Page is a very good fighter. Very classy, very good point fighter, very good style. He's very good. He's representing England, London, England as well. So I had every right to be biased here. But I went against bias. And I knew that Lima was going to win. Because let me tell you something, boys. Lima might be the best guy outside of the UFC that's never fought in the UFC. You know what I'm saying? Lima's an absolute fucking savage. Okay, and I've actually picked Lima to win this entire tournament. And I knew he was going to be MVP. It's just too obvious. I said he was going to do the leg kicks. He did the leg kicks. You know what I'm saying? I didn't think he was going to knock him out the way he did. That was very unexpected. If you don't know what happened, well, you definitely know what fucking happened. But I'm going to say it anyway. He chopped away at the leg of MVP. MVP dropped from the leg kick. Because the way MVP stands is very Wonderboy-esque. And the same way I predicted Pettis was going to beat Wonderboy with leg kicks. It's the same way that MVP can be beaten. That sideways style makes it impossible to check leg kicks. Impossible. Even if you lift your leg up from that sideways style, you're still going to eat leg kicks on the meat of your calf. And it's impossible to do anything against. That's his weakness. Lima knew this because Lima is a seasoned fighter. And that's what it took to beat him. And I think that we're going to see a different MVP when he comes back. I hope we see a different MVP. Because let's face it, after this loss, people are going to hate on him. Because he's a bullyish kind of guy. You know, he's a bit full of himself. But hey, in the cage he was smiling. He shook Lima's hand. He walked off, shook his head like, oh, well. You know, I lost. I rate it. Well done to him. I just feel like he needs to change. Once it's a style until people figure it out. You know what I'm saying? It's the same with Wonderboy. He has that sideways style, that point fighting karate style, where it's a Rubik's Cube, but then someone makes a manual. Someone makes an instruction manual, and they send it out to every other person. Then all of a sudden that Rubik's Cube isn't so impossible to solve. You know what I'm saying? So I knew that Lima was going to win. I didn't think he was going to do it that brutally, if I'm honest with you. But he gets the KO in the second round with 35 seconds on the clock. And it was fucking brutal, boys. It was absolutely brutal. And then Lima's going to go on, in my opinion, to face Rory McDonald. Because in the middle of June, Rory McDonald's facing Neiman Gracie at Bellator 222, I believe it is. And that's going to be an amazing fight. But I think that Rory's going to get past him. I think Neiman Gracie's a good fighter. Very good fighter, don't get me wrong. Great fighter. I just feel like Neiman Gracie's going to be a little bit too young in the tooth to take on a veteran like Rory. And even a Rory in the mindset that he's in right now, I still think he beats Neiman Gracie. I just think he just completely destroys him. I like Neiman Gracie. I feel like people know him just because of his surname, though. Like, when you really look into who he's beat, you know, he's 9-0. Who's he beaten? Ed Roof. That's a good win, actually. Ed Roof is a good win. Very good win, but that's it. You know? That's it. That really is it. So, yeah, it's pretty rough, boys. But I will say this. Neiman Gracie's a big fucking welterweight, okay? A big fucking welterweight. He's like Ortega. He actually looks exactly like Ortega. So Rory could have some trouble there, but the way Lima did this, boys, I think Lima's going to go on to win the whole thing, in my opinion. I think Rory's going to beat Gracie, and then Lima's going to beat Rory in a rematch. That's how I actually feel, because Lima's an absolute savage. He didn't even bite on the fakes from MVP. He knew what was coming, he knew what wasn't, and he did something that's very key to a guy who blitzes. Smother. Okay? Smother. MVP would blitz in, try and land a shot. Lima would cover and just smother. And that's how he got the initial takedown. MVP had no answer for him on the ground other than holding hands and fighting hands and just avoiding damage. MVP has a massive hole in his ground game, and I thought that was actually how Lima was going to get the job done. I thought he was going to get the job done by taking down MVP and just dominating him on the ground and getting the finish there. Didn't happen that way, though. Didn't happen that way, and now we see MVP very beatable all of a sudden. Because when you think about it, other than that, a split decision, let's be real, because it could have gone either way with Paul Daly. Before that, who's he fought? David Rickles? Let's look at David Rickles' record. 21-5 and just quit fighting. If you remember that fight, he literally just called it off like this. He got hit in the head and called it off. That was it. Then you look at Fernando Gonzalez. Oh, 27 and 16. You know, like, these wins aren't... And he went to a split decision with him. They're not impressive. Anyone can look good against trash. And I'll tell you this, MVP isn't young either. So he needs to make a dramatic change now to his style to compete at the top. Because he's been bullying little tin cans that have no idea what they're doing in the cage. And you get found out. You get found out. It's all good and well until you face elite fighters. And people will sleep on Lima because he's not in the UFC. People have such a bad misconception about that. Lima could beat plenty of top 10 welterweights in the UFC right now. Same with Rory McDonald. Both of them could, maybe not Rory now. But Rory was a top 5 welterweight for the longest time. And Lima took him to a hard decision. You know what I'm saying? Very hard decision. There was times where I thought they were going to stop the fight because of those leg kicks. But Lima could compete in the top 10 of the UFC. Easily could compete in the top 10 of the UFC. And I think people slept on him in this fight. I didn't sleep on him. People buy into the hype. A lot of people, hey, I respect you if you didn't buy into that hype. Because, you know, it takes some brains to know how much of a savage Douglas Lima is. Because he really is a bad man. I think he's going to win the whole tournament. But yeah, what's next for MVP? There's fights for him, guys. There is fights for him. If Eric Silva beats Paul Daly, which I doubt will happen. I think Paul Daly will get that win. But if Eric Silva beats Paul Daly, that's a fresh matchup they can do. MVP versus Eric Silva. Great stuff. Let's do it. That's a great fight right there. Amazing fight. Let's do that. Who else is there? Any loser of this tournament? Korshkov? That's risky. That's the thing. People slept on this event. There's so many talented fighters in here. And MVP, although he's one of the more well-known guys other than Rory, he's kind of the worst coming in. He's the worst guy coming in. And Paul Daly kind of shit the bed in the fight with him. Completely. And, yeah, it was him and Paul Daly were the worst guys coming into that tournament, in my opinion. Because Korshkov, if you don't recognize the name, he's a savage, guys. He's an absolute fucking savage. Yeah. It's a rough time. A real rough time in that division. Especially at Bellator at the top, if you want to compete real well. My opinion for MVP, take some money grabs for the next year. Have a few fights, 2 or 3. See if you can get some wins under you. Try developing that style a little bit more so it works against the elite competition. However you need to make that happen. Make it happen. Figure something out. You're 32. You're not getting any younger. And see what you can do. See what you can do. He needs to look for some Asian competitors with a name. So Paul Daly in a rematch a few times from now, a few fights from now, would be a great rematch. Because he'd win that and Paul Daly isn't getting any younger either. He's a very old guy. So yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Douglas Lima is an absolute savage, boys. Don't ever sleep on him again. Or he'll flatten you. Sleep on Lima and he will sleep you. That's how it works. Lima's a savage. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoy this new mic. Some high quality stuff here, boys. That's what the donations from yesterday got me. Thank you very much.